Amara, Willey, welcome to Nature of Reality Radio. I found you on Facebook, and I liked what I saw when I checked out your YouTube channel and your Facebook timeline. Your YouTube channel says The Great Awakening. Anybody who focuses on waking people up is worthy of being a guest on my show if they take it seriously enough to be a guest on my show, and apparently you certainly do based on what I'm seeing here. So congratulations on making yourself worthy enough to be a guest on my show. I'm sure this will be a great interview, and without further ado, please explain who you are from a primary source perspective, get into your life story, and as I always say, I don't have Alex Jones-itis. I don't interrupt my guests. So I will, you can...
Well, thank you. That was very kind of you. So I call myself a spiritual tour guide, and what I mean by that is sort of the American version of shaman. I've studied cross-cultural shamanism for the last, I think, 27 years, Celtic, Indonesian, Greek, South American, all kinds of different flavors, and there's some kind of medicine healer kind of person in every indigenous culture. So clearly shaman is not an American word, though it's sort of come into our vernacular, and so I use spiritual tour guide as a way of saying that I am a liaison between the spirit and physical worlds, and I like to help people have an experience of the divine.
Yes, well, anything else?
Well, I think that's kind of basically what I do. I offer ceremonies and programs about seeing ourselves as one mind or one thing. I draw strongly on the ideas of from the early 1900s, really, of being able to kind of see ourselves as part of a larger tapestry that includes everybody as one thing.
Everybody as one thing, yes. Well, since you mentioned that, yeah, that's really how consciousness works. Everybody is one thing, but when it comes to boundaries, everybody can agree and to disagree on what is appropriate. I mean, in some sense, if we are all one, then one could say that there really is no privacy, because everybody should be able to, well, intermingle with everyone else because we're all one. But like Brad Johnson, who has New Earth Awakenings or something like that YouTube channel, recently did a Infinite Intelligence report. He's talked about how on other worlds there is no sense of privacy because everybody is doesn't get uncomfortable talking about things. I don't really look at it that way, though. I don't really see privacy as it exists because people get uncomfortable talking about certain things. I think of it more as nobody has authority over any other person. Therefore, the issue of whether or not you're comfortable talking about things or showing things is beside the point. It's just a matter of I have the authority to. I have the authority to not let you invade my privacy. So don't even think about it. So, but then again, if we're all one, then the idea of privacy should be an illusion, one could argue. So in that sense, the NSA surveillance system that Edward Snowden revealed back in 2013 is a good thing because it wakes us up to the fact that we're all one. If that's a crazy way of looking at it, but if you know what I'm trying to say here. So how do you make sense of this? We're all one, but there has to be boundaries, or there doesn't have to be boundaries. If what Brad Johnson says about some other worlds, there is no privacy, is true.
Well, I guess I would say that I agree with you, but in the world of form, which is the world we live in, right, the physical reality, we have an illusion, as you said, of separateness. And so as long as I am the Amara personality and you are the Andrew personality, we don't have those parts of us, the ego part that, you know, can just know what the other ego part says. But when we reconnect, I think, to the one mind, to as you say, a different world, a different plane of existence, when we're vibrating faster, we hear everything as one thing. So, and which for me is love. So it's not really a matter of privacy for me, because, you know, I'm okay with everyone knowing that I'm a being of love, and I see everybody else as a being of love.
Yes, I like that way of looking at it. So your video that you uploaded, excuse me, 7 months ago, are you a healer? Well, apparently I think well, I guess I know I am, based on what others have told me about how I am I'm becoming more and more shaman-like, they tell me. Spiritual people have. I mean, I kind of have the characteristics of one, walking around with a bag of mapacho tobacco in a lot of places, willing to give it to people free of charge to heal them and all that. That's medicinal tobacco. Yes, I said medicinal tobacco. Some people think of tobacco as being toxic and unhealthy, but no, that's only if it's used improperly. It could be a great medicine if used properly, and mapacho is one of the species that's good for that. So also, a lot of my meditations, I feel the best way to meditate is to just radiate love from your heart and just spread love out there to the universe. I don't think, there's different ways of meditating, and you want to try different ways or you're going to get bored, because variety is the spice of life. But I think hands down the best meditation is the kind where you just send love out there from your heart. So to answer the question, are you a healer? Well, how do you know if you're a healer? And how can you become a better healer? Any tips?
So I guess I would say that anyone who ever asks themselves the question, am I a healer? You are, because if that's something that is of interest to you in any way, then you are a healer. And really our way of connecting with each other is the opportunity to heal. So sending love out from your center is a perfect way of doing that. It's part of a longer Buddhist kind of meditation, Tonglen, which is about breathing in all of the suffering of the world and then breathing it out and breathing love out. So you breathe in the suffering and you breathe love out as a way of connecting with other people. But as far as being a healer goes, I think that we are often given the opportunity to heal ourselves when we're healers. It's known as the wounded foot in shamanism, where you have some kind of illness or injury that comes to you, and as you learn how to heal yourself, you are in the school of life of healing other people. I also think that we can help each other heal by seeing each other as whole and healed. And that's a practice that I do in my own healing work, is to not see people as sick or ill, but see them in their light form, in their light body, as being healed. And an example of that was this morning somebody emailed me and said, hey, can you talk to me? I have a pain in my right side, and I know that I have kidney problems, and I think it's acting up. And I said, okay, pause. A lot of that's ego fear, right? So let's just go with right now. What you know is that in the past, which is not part of the present, you had problems with your kidney. Right now, all you know is that you have a pain on your back. So rather than jumping to the point of, hey, I have a pain, it must be my kidneys, you can see yourself as whole, healed, and holy, and just go out about your day. And lo and behold, as the day wore on, the pain went away, whatever, it was a pulled muscle, and the fear did not catch hold. And I think that's part of, the way that we can heal.
Okay, I see you have another video called The Sound of Silence. That's a paradox if there ever was one. There's supposed to be no sound when there is silence. So I guess the most reasonable question after seeing that is, what exactly are you trying to talk? What do you talk about in that 3-minute 11-second video? How can silence have sound? And silence is golden, some people say, but then again, silence is not golden if you have things to say and you choose not to say them because you're a coward. So, okay, so how do you make sense
all right,
of this?
so
What is this?
sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So for me, sound and silence are a polarity. They are like yin and yang. There's a little bit of yin in yang and a little bit of yang in yin. So when I talk about the sound of silence, it's the space between the words. And when we're meditating, the space between the words is where we find God, or where we find the bigger thing, the stillness. So when we talk about the sound of silence, I think of it as a part of how we understand sound. So they kind of, without silence, you don't understand sound, and without sound, you don't understand silence. They kind of are interrelated. And I just want to make a comment because I know before we started talking, you said there was a break of about 5 months in my YouTube channel. And I thought that was very interesting because I've been in a rest period for about 5 or 6 months where I haven't been doing a lot of content. I kind of carried on with I have a spiritual discussion group and some virtual rituals that I do, but that's kind of all I've been doing. I haven't been posting that much. And I think it's really important to have these kinds of rest periods in your life, maybe not 5 months, but time for creativity and the divine to talk to us. And it's in that quietness, that stillness, that silence that we can hear the sounds of the bigger thing, whatever that looks like to us, which sometimes looks like more creativity or more energy, but after the period of rest.
Yeah, I know what it's like. I'm being an Aries and a fire tiger. I'm kind of always on the go, but then again, even I need my rest periods, and I check my horoscope daily. And if it says you need rest, then well, good time to take that horoscope a little seriously because well, it's there for a reason, and everything happens in divine timing.
Yeah.
All right, there is a video you uploaded 10 months ago, I see, called The Land of Youth. When I see that, I think of something that Indigo Child Matias De Stefano said. He said that there's energies in the present day that's causing everybody to act like a teenager. And, well, if that's the case, then, well, the teenagers, are they acting like kids in candy stores? If you know what I mean. Or, well, it does not really work like that. Are teenagers, and everybody who's older than them will act like teenagers. I mean, I sort of see that in everyday life sometimes. But do you know anything? Is that what that pertains to what you're talking about here, the land of youth?
So this came from one of my spiritual discussion groups. I run this discussion group called the Possibility Posse twice a month, and our topic was based on a Celtic myth about the land of youth, which is sort of the land of the fairy, the land, the other world. But I see what you're saying about the way people act like teenagers. I think I don't know that we are any different than we ever were, but we certainly can see each other in real time now because of the internet and because of social media, and that does not bring out the best in us. So I think we are more aware of that tendency. I don't know that it's more prevalent. So, but for me, the land of youth is really returning to the childlike innocence that we had when we were young and not when we were necessarily teenagers, but where we saw the world kind of like the tarot card, the Fool, where you're just kind of stepping out across a cliff, following a butterfly or reaching for a flower, where you can just kind of become that new soul that takes in the world at its most wonderful, instead of as we get older, and as I have two teenager boys, and as we get older, we see the glass half empty all the time. So we we tend to, moan and complain and not see the childlike innocence. So I hope that as we as a society start awakening, and I think we will, but I think that may take 200 years. I don't think it's like one and done. We're in a transition, as I'm sure you know, from the age of Aquarius to the age of into the age of Aquarius, from the age of Pisces, and it's the air age, and where a bunch of the larger planets are already in air signs over the last couple of years. It's a time when we are maybe seeing things with more clarity, and I hope that over, as we all evolve a little bit at a time, and teachers like, the people that you bring on your show and you as a shaman can help facilitate some of that growth.
Yes, I do hope to do that better and better as time goes on. You also have a YouTube video here called Starting a Spiritual Practice. Well, there's all sorts of types of spiritual practices, so I'm kind of interested to see exactly what kind did you advocate for. And when you say is practice synonymous with business, or can you just forget about getting money involved? This is something you can do on the side if you choose. Go ahead, get into this.
No, please go.
That's it.
Okay.
Question.
So spiritual practice, I agree with you. There's many, many different kinds, and even if we start one, we may evolve into a different one. For me, I do a spiritual practice of reading something spiritual and journaling and meditating while I'm doing those things. So, and I do yoga. But that's just one thing, and it has evolved. Sometimes I do one thing, sometimes I do another, sometimes I don't do it every day. I just want to kind of be clear, because I think people get into a place where they want to do something exactly the same every day, and if they don't, they beat themselves up and say, "Oh, I can't do a spiritual practice." The way that I have been teaching spiritual practice is through a prosperity program, though I also share different kinds of meditation when I do my Possibility Posse, which is free, and the virtual rituals I do are free. The Passport to Prosperity program is a paid program, but it's a pretty low cost. Just, I feel that people tend to commit more to something when they have to put money into it. I personally am on the salary of God, and I'll explain that in a minute. But as far as the spiritual practice goes, it doesn't matter what you choose to do, and it doesn't matter how well you do it. So I know a lot of people will say, I can't meditate. My mind bounces all over the place. Everybody's mind bounces all over the place, sometimes more, sometimes less. The reason it's called practice is because you're not an expert the second you try it. It takes time of doing things over and over again in whatever way you choose. And that can be sitting and staring at a wall and breathing and watching your breath, or it can be blessing your dishes with holiness when you wash them, like going for a walk. Those are all meditative practices. It doesn't matter what you choose to do. What I mean by the salary of God is that I have kind of divorced or separated my bringing money into my life and paying for my the needs of my human body from working. So sometimes people pay me to do things that I do, and sometimes the universe just sends me random money, which happens pretty frequently, which is why I have this Passport to Prosperity program, because I wanted to share what I learned about abundance with people who don't have as much of it.
Well, I'm sure you would have a lot of people's undivided attention when you say I get money that I don't even ask for and it just flows to me. Well, I mean, I've been trying to do that for years with all the like videos and such that I listen to and watch to improve my destiny tuning and all that, to vibrate at a frequency of abundance and wealth, and subliminal message programs, among other things that I utilize. And I will say some things have happened where I spontaneously get a donation out of nowhere, or there was at least one occasion where I got a check in the mail from someone I had absolutely no idea who they were or why they were sending me a check. But when I deposited the check in the account in the bank, it turned out to be valid. So I'm thinking, well, if it happened once before, it can be done again. But for the people that, I mean, everybody wants to, I guess, one day be done with money. Alex Collier said for many years that Earth is the only civilization in the Milky Way that he knows of that uses money. And how can you not hear him say that and not think, well, it's time for us to join the rest of the program and figure out a way to get rid of money. But as long as we have it, let's figure out ways to keep getting it so that we can improve our lives for the better with more of it. Well, some people who win the lottery, all hell breaks loose with all that money in their life. But some people are disciplined enough to manage it if they get it, well enough to use it in productive ways. So if you can manifest money out of nowhere, seemingly, I can't resist asking you, what's your secrets?
Well, so I call the way the human brain works 2K thinking, which is that there's about 400,000 bits of information available to us at any given time, and our brains, which are pretty awesome, can only absorb about 2,000 bits of information. And most of the time, it's the same 95% of information as we thought about yesterday. So when we stay in that 2K thinking, and that is how our brains work, and brain plasticity, and is kind of a cool idea, we train our brains about what we want to notice. So in order to help our brains figure out what of the 400,000 bits of information our brains want to tell us. So whatever we're telling our brains we're interested in is what we are noticing. So if we're noticing that we don't have enough money to pay our bills, that we're catching colds all the time, that, you know, the traffic is always terrible on our way to work, those kinds of things, that's like the glass half empty, because that's not your whole life, right? That's some part of your life that has truth. The other part of your life is all the wonderful things that are happening that you may not be noticing because your brain is thinking that you're super interested in the traffic and in being sick. And so it's noticing that you have a symptom, or that you didn't get the pay raise you wanted, or that you lost money when you bought a lottery ticket and it didn't, you know, your number didn't come in. So one example of what I mean by money just coming to me is I had a friend, a woman, call me up and start telling me about an issue that she had that had to do with going to the dentist, and she didn't like her dentist, and she had to have a tooth pulled, and she just was very nervous, both about the money involved in having to pay for this tooth extraction thing and the fact that she didn't like the dentist. And so but she was afraid to go to a different dentist because they weren't covered by her insurance. So she talked to me and we kind of worked, through it, and I gave her a pep talk, which is kind of what I do. And then at the end of the conversation, she said, I really wish I could pay you, but I don't have enough money for this tooth thing. I can't pay you. And I said, oh, no problem. You already paid me. I got a check for $316 for an insurance refund from 2 years ago. I don't know why I got it, but I did. So you paid me. Thank you. And that's the kind of thing we tend to mix together, like I did this thing, and so I'm getting paid this amount of money for this thing. Whereas when you do this thing, it has nothing to do with the money you get. So if you go to work, you're going to work to provide love and service and, whatever it is that you do to make the world of form work. And then you are getting money. Sometimes it looks like a paycheck. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it looks like other things. And it's not always money, because money is energy. Money is an exchange, right? So sometimes we get, few of us get paid in money, right? Few of us get paid cash because the cash is put in our bank account in direct deposit, or, is a check that we deposit. It's not, most people don't get paid actual, quarters and dollar bills and 20s. Some people do. So we can stop thinking about money as anything except energy. That helps with the abundance, because we don't say, oh my gosh, this person owes me money. I'm so mad that I can't get them to pay me. And so this is another example that I sometimes use. At one point, a client of mine, before I retired and went on the salary of God, I was a professional organizer, and a client of mine owed me $1,680. And I'm saying this for a particular reason. And I kept sending them notes and calling them and saying, hey, you owe me this money. When are you going to pay me? And they're like, oh, yeah, the check's in the mail. Oh, I'm going to pay you next week. Oh, yeah, I already sent that. Like, didn't even make sense, right? Sometimes they had sent it and sometimes they hadn't sent it. And it was making me very nervous because I really needed that money. That was a lot of money. I needed that money. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to start imagining that the money is in my mailbox, that the check came. Every day I go to my mailbox, I'm going to imagine that check is there. And what ended up happening was I got a refund from my taxes when I subtracted out the amount that I paid for my accountant was $1,680. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And then I got a check from another client who booked more work with me at the last minute for $1,681. And I was like, okay, I think the universe is telling me to shut up. It's all going to be okay. Stop worrying. Doesn't matter where the money comes from. And then eventually I actually did get the money from the original client who owed me money. So I actually got $1,680 3 times. And so the lesson for me in that is that when you want to have something happen, you can't get too attached to the means. Like, you know what the outcome is. The outcome is everything's fine. You'll be able to pay your bills. All things are working out. And the way that you get there doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if somebody pays you in a bag of rice or in a $20 bill. It doesn't matter, because those are the same things.
Well, some people don't look at it as those are the same things. I mean, anybody who says you got to pay me in dollars is that a healthy mentality for someone to say you got to pay me in dollars, or are they just part of the problem when it comes to preventing the transition to a society where we can manage without money, hopefully someday? Or what do you have to say to people who insist you pay them in dollars and not anything else that could be of equal value, if you get my drift?
Yeah, so absolutely, I don't see people as problems. And I don't see that as a problem. I think it's just an outmoded way of thinking that we are all stuck in. It's part of the 2K thinking that we all do because we've been trained to see our work, the Protestant work ethic, our work as an exchange for hard money. And there used to be societies that, if a curandera or a healer performed a ritual to cure somebody, they would get paid in food or whatever, or they would just, or the community would support them in order for them to continue doing the work they needed to do that didn't actually, you wouldn't get paid for curing a sick child, you just get your resources taken care of. Would I love to see our society go that direction? Yes, as long as we keep thinking that communism and socialism are horrible things. I don't know that that will happen because, people will see what I'm saying as one of those things. But what I mean by it is that we all take care of each other in whatever ways we need to show up. And I believe our world to be infinitely expanding, our universe to be infinitely expanding, and scientifically it is. With what we see on the microcosm of that infinite expansion is that all things are possible, and that we can get to a place where the idea that money in exchange for work is not relevant anymore.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, at this point, I guess I'll ask that anybody who wants to listen to the rest of this interview, please do subscribe on Patreon for me. Nothing wrong with asking people to monetize, asking people to pay me for my work. Nothing wrong with asking that wanting my work to be monetized. To some degree, giving you most of the program for free, folks, but the last little bit, please consider subscribing to Patreon. That'd be very nice if you would do that. So, but we'll continue with this for maybe another 10, 15 minutes. Let's cover several subjects on the fly here.